You told yourself it would get better. You made excuses, you forgave things you swore you never would, and somehow months or even years passed and you're still there. Still in the same place. Still hurting. And the worst part? You already know something is wrong. You've known for a while, but knowing and leaving, those are two completely different things. And nobody ever talks about the gap between them. Because here's the truth that most people are too uncomfortable to say out loud. Staying in a painful relationship is not stupidity. It's not weakness. It's not low self-worth wrapped up in a neat little therapy phrase. It's something far more complicated than that. It's human. And if you've ever been in one of these relationships, or if you're in one right now, what you're about to hear might be the first time something actually makes sense to you. Let's start with something that almost nobody understands about pain in relationships, and that's the fact that the brain does not process emotional pain the way logic does. When you're in a relationship that genuinely hurts you, your brain is not sitting there quietly calculating whether this person is good for you. It's doing something far more primal. It's scanning for survival. It's searching for safety. And here's the cruel twist. When you've been with someone long enough, your brain starts to register that person as safety itself. Not because they make you feel safe, but simply because they are familiar. Familiarity and safety feel identical to the nervous system. That's not a metaphor. That's neuroscience. So when you think about leaving, your body doesn't respond the way you'd expect. It doesn't feel like freedom. Feels like danger. Feels like loss. It feels like falling off a cliff, even if the cliff you're standing on is already crumbling underneath you. Your brain literally triggers a stress response, the same kind it would trigger if your actual survival was threatened. That's why so many people describe wanting to leave but physically not being able to. It's not dramatic. Their nervous system is in a genuine state of alarm. And then something else kicks in, something called intermittent reinforcement, which is honestly one of the most powerful psychological forces in human behavior, and most people have never heard the term. Here's what it means. When pain and reward come unpredictably, when someone is cold, then warm, critical, then loving, distant, then present, your brain doesn't learn to stop wanting them. It actually becomes more addicted to them. This is the same mechanism behind slot machines. You don't keep pulling the lever because you always win. You keep pulling it because sometimes you do. The uncertainty itself is what creates the compulsion. And in relationships, those rare moments of warmth, of connection, of feeling chosen, they hit harder and feel more real than they actually are, precisely because they're surrounded by so much pain. But let's go even deeper, because the nervous system only explains part of it. There's something that happens very early in life, long before you ever had your first relationship, that quietly shapes every relationship you'll ever have. Psychologists call it your attachment style, and the short version is this: however you learn to connect with the people who raised you becomes your blueprint for what love is supposed to feel like. If you grew up in an environment where love was consistent, available, and safe, you tend to carry that blueprint into your adult relationships. But if love was inconsistent, conditional, or mixed with fear or neglect, then on some deep, unconscious level, your system learned that love and anxiety go together. That connection comes with uncertainty. That you have to work for it, earn it, wait for it. And then when you find yourself in a relationship that feels exactly that way, chaotic, unpredictable, painful, but occasionally wonderful, it doesn't feel wrong. Feels like home. Not because it's good for you, because it's what you know. This is not something people choose consciously. Nobody sits down and says, "I'd like to repeat my childhood wounds, please." It happens quietly, beneath the surface, in a language the mind doesn't speak, just feels. And then there's something even more subtle at play, and it's the thing that keeps people stuck longer than almost anything else. It's called the sunk cost, and it doesn't just apply to money or business decisions. It applies to time, to emotion, to identity. The longer you've been in a relationship, the harder it becomes to leave, not because things have gotten better, but because of everything you've already put in. The years, the plans you made together, the version of yourself you built around this person, the friends who became our friends, the future you imagined. Walking away doesn't just feel like leaving a person. It feels like dismantling an entire life. And the mind resists that. It tells you, "But I've already given so much. If I leave now, what was all of that for?" That question, "What was it all for?" is one of the most dangerous questions a person in a painful relationship can ask themselves, because the honest answer is that staying longer won't give the past meaning. It only adds more loss to an already heavy pile. But in the moment, that logic is almost impossible to access. There's also the matter of identity, and this one is rarely talked about, but it matters enormously. When you've been in a relationship for a long time, especially an intense or painful one, your sense of self can become deeply entangled with that relationship. You stop knowing where you end and where they begin. The question, who am I without this person, isn't rhetorical. It's genuinely terrifying. Because the answer is, you don't know. And not knowing who you are is more frightening to most people than continuing to live in a situation that hurts them. Because at least in the hurt, there's familiarity. There's a role. There's a self, even if that self is suffering. This is especially true for people who entered the relationship young, or at a particularly vulnerable time in their lives. The relationship didn't just become part of them. It became the container in which they built themselves. And you can't just walk away from a container without feeling completely empty. Now, here's what I want you to sit with, because this is the part that actually matters. Understanding why you stay doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. The brain patterns, the attachment wounds, the fear, the identity loss, none of these are moral failures. They are predictable, documented, deeply understandable responses to circumstances most people never chose. But understanding them is the beginning of something important. Because once you can see the mechanism, you can start to separate it from your choices. You can begin to ask, is this feeling keeping me safe? Or is it just keeping me familiar? Is this person giving me love? Or giving me just enough to keep me looking? Am I staying because this is good for me? Or because leaving feels like something I don't yet know how to survive? Those questions don't have easy answers, but asking them honestly, without judgment, without shame, is how people begin to find their way out. Not all at once, not in a single dramatic moment, but slowly, with support, with honesty, and with a growing understanding that the life waiting for them on the other side of that door is worth the fear of opening it.